everyone, and welcome to this Hearthstone video of the top 5 cards I'm going to miss once the standard cycle rotates. So as we know, or as you may not know, the full standard set is going to rotate next February. It's going to be Blackrock Mountain, the Grand Tournament, and League of Explorers. And League of Explorers feels very new in terms of the meta, but it's going to be like the biggest thing that's happened to standard, because we're losing 3 expansions, and we're only going to be getting the new one from this winter, which will be, imagine, around late November, December time, and then on February, which is when this stuff's going to cycle out. So I'm just going to put out 5 cards that I'm really going to miss. Maybe they're not all maybe that competitive, but and I'm biased to some classes because I play them a lot, but I've tried not to fill the entire 5 with them. But these are just 5 that I think are going to be missed in the meta, and I'm gonna put them in order of number 5 being like the least I'm going to miss on the list, and number 1 being my absolute one I'm gonna cry about, because you know it's life. But we'll start off, and here we go at number 5. We have an Entomb. This is from a class that I don't really play, and many people don't really play, but what I have played from it was a very fun card to have. We have seen the counterpart released in a previous expansion, which was the Druid's Recycle, which would choose an enemy minion, shuffle it into their deck, so you would just be increasing their longevity in the game, and there's nothing stopping them from top decking your next turn. It was just really inefficient removal, but once you choose an enemy minion and put it into your deck for the same cost, yeah, it becomes pretty good. If you've got a really greedy priest that can make it to the late game, or even just as a removal card, like with a Savannah Highmane, Shadow Word Death doesn't do the job, but this just picks up everything, Death Rattle and all, pops it into your deck, and it's just really efficient removal. It was really nice for the priest, especially after they lost Light Bomb. This did not, this was not on the same level as Light Bomb, but it was a really fun card to play. There's no real RNG except the opponent playing a minion and then you wanting to take that minion, so it was just a solid card. It was the bane of control decks, and now the meta seems to be a bit quick for it, but there's still time for a bit of fun before it disappears. But yeah, I think this is a good card for Priest. I'm sad it's going to be disappearing for them. But let's move on to number 4. This one jumps up quite a bit. I think a lot of people will miss this one. Justica. It almost feels like a warrior class card, because that's where you pretty much see it. In every warrior deck that isn't aggro, it runs this card. Through and through, because gaining 4 armor each turn is a big deal. Priest often runs this as well, but getting 4 armor I feel is better than healing for 4. Because you can always stack that armor, which means that the warrior can end up with a ridiculous amount of HP with this card on, and priest can only ever go up to 30, so rip to combo decks. But it's something that lets your class do what it does, but better. It actually makes you want to pay 2 mana to use your hero power, and that's something that you haven't really seen. Right? We've got the Inspire cards, but they've all pretty disappeared because using your hero power is such a bad, it's so inefficient, and this card is just an excellent way to get into your late game, and even in your mid game it can really help out. And it feels like this should be a standard card. It is really good. Hopefully they add in some more mechanics to make you want to use your hero power, because at the moment, especially with this leaving, your hero power would be disappearing. It'd be like, bye. But we'll move on to a number 3, and this is a particularly painful one. Reno Jackson. It is one of the cards that has really pushed a certain deck design. Like here, you can only make it if you have 1 of each card in your deck fully heal your hero. So you don't have to go with 30 different cards, but for the most consistent and most useful Reno Jacksons, that's what you would do. I've run double Doomsayers in the past, and every time you run a double, there's no guarantee you're going to pull one before Reno Jackson, and often on turn 6 you need Reno. Like if you got him in the mulligan, you would keep him. But I really liked what this card did on the meta, that people would actually be making more use of cards, because normally you just see 13 cards which is running 2 copies, and then you've got a few legendary and a select couple of epics, and that is your deck. But Reno has really changed a lot of stuff up. In certain decks like Reno Warlock, where it hasn't got healing, it's been a personal highlight for me. Yeah, it's just gonna be a shame that this is going. Like, something that's forcing different decks out there is really refreshing, and this actually was such a powerful effect it made people do it. Rest in peace, Reno, as of next year. We're now going to move on to number 2. This is going to be a bit controversial. This is more personally for me what I'm really going to miss. I know loads of people are going to be on their top 5 list for get this card out of the meta, but it is the Flamewaker. If you can remember before Blackrock Mountain, if you're a new player you won't, and this card will just be a bane of your existence. Mages were predominantly freeze mage, so if you come up against a mage it was just a very infuriating playstyle if you was playing anything that tried to develop minions early on and go into the late game, kind of like Hunter plays now, and you're just constantly being like frozen, your board was moving, it wasn't very interactive. So I think this was their card that they introduced to say, look, you could play a different kind of mage, because this one isn't very good with freeze mage, because when you're freezing the board and playing Doomsayers, you don't want to be losing your Flamewaker. So Tempo Mage was born. And Tempo Mage was actually throughout a few more interactive minions where people could trade with them, and Flamewaker is obviously an incredibly strong card, but it let the mage do what the mage does best, and as a mage, cast some spells, throwing some spells in your face. Now the Oxeron, it gets a bit crazy, but I'm gonna miss this card. I think with the loss of this, I don't know when mage is gonna stand. I think we're gonna see that formulated over the next couple of expansions, and hopefully they give mage something to fall back on, because at the moment they've got this, and their attempt at freeze mage is just a little bit sad, to be honest. Numero 2. Done. And now we've got the number 1 card. It is from my favourite class, but it's not Imp Gang Boss. It's actually the one that we're going to lose that's only been in the meta recently. The Dank Peddler. This card, as soon as it was released, I was just in awe of this card. It's something that's got an RNG effect. Discover, which is my favourite mechanic in the game. But Discover a 1-cost card, so it's kind of formulated, and in Warlock you've got the power 1-drops, which is Soulfire and Power Overwhelming. You also have other things like you can draw like Possessed Villager, Flame Imp, Voidwalker, and even the Shift of Xeris. You know, this card was so versatile. You can play it in aggro lists looking for the Soulfire and Power Overwhelming, and the control lists where you can even be taking like a Corruption or a Shift of Xeris to try and bolster your deck. But it was just something great. I mean, you can play on turn 2, which is under the power curve, 2 mana 2/2. You know, no one would play that, but the effect is so good. You can just take it, grab a coil, and then carry on. It was just something that refilled your hand effectively. And it was just a really, really nice card. It's gonna make Warlocks, I think, a lot weaker losing this card, because they're running out of stuff to play as it is. You're seeing some skanky tech involved here. Obviously, honourable mention to the Imp Gang Boss. It's kind of like their pseudo death rattle, because if you deal 4 damage to it, it's not enough. It's going to get a 1/1 as well. But without these new expansions giving something for Zoo, they're going to become considerably weaker, and they might disappear completely if control cards come in. But this one, I am just, it's only had like a year in the game, so it's kind of sad that it's disappearing to the realms of Wild already. I just really hope there's some more Discover cards. But that's all I can hope for in the next expansions, that there's new exciting mechanics where you have like a bit of RNG, but you can also hone it a little bit, rather than something like Barnes, which is just, I'm just rolling the dice unless I've only got one other minion in my deck. But yeah, this is going to be a real shame to go. I think a lot of people are going to miss Dark Peddler as well, just because it's, Discover's fun. Discover's fun. We need some more fun in here. But that's my top 5 list. Let me know what your top 5 list of what you're going to see disappear. We might see a similar themed video next week regarding the top 5 leaving. Spoiler alert. But that's going to be it for me today, guys. Let me know what you think about the expansions rotating, and what you're going to see glad to get the boot, and what you're going to really miss. And I will catch you next time. So take care and peace out.